Hello everyone, welcome to the new episode of Touchdesigner tutorials. In this video, we are going to create an abstract flight. Let's start. So first thing I do, I bring a noise from top. In common, I change the resolution to 720 HD. If you're using the free version of Touchdesigner, then you cannot have higher resolution. Here I change the period to 0.3. I change the harmonics to 1. Harmonic spreads to 3.6. And I reduce the harmonic gain to 0.2. Now I increase the exponent to 1.3. Now I go to transform, and in scale X, I reduce the number to 0.3. I want to make kind of like a river or something. In translate X, I write apps time dot seconds to give it a movement. Now it's very fast. So I have to change the language. And I multiply it to 0.25 to make it slower. I copy the expression and paste it on Translate C. Now you see we have already a nice fluid movement. I turn off the monochrome to make it colorful. Now here, after my noise, I add an edge. I increase the edge strength to 15. And sample step to 10. After edge, I add a composite and I connect my edge and my noise to the composite. I put the operation on difference. Now I add another composite, and I add my previous composite and my edge to the new composite. So I put it on maximum. Now we have this. Now what I want to do, I want to make my color more bluish. So I add a channel mix from top. And here, I change the color values in my channel mix. I change the red to 0.4, the second one. And green to 0.3, 0.60, and the blue on 0.3, 0, and 1. Now we have kind of a bluish greenish color. There should be some other ways also to change the color, it depends on you, but I use channel mix usually. after channel mix, I add a feedback. And a composite. But between my composite and feedback, I add a transform and a level. Now I connect my channel mix to composite. And here you just select the composite, keep your mouse and drag and drop it on your feedback, or you can drag and drop it here directly. Now everything turns black because our operation is on multiply. Now we change the operation to over. Here I reset my feedback, but our image now is still. It stops moving. So first, I divide my screen to 2 parts. Here I choose top viewer. I add a null, I turn on the display. Now here in the left part, I right click on the screen and I go to display and I turn off backdrop tops. Now we have the image on the right side of our program, and the left part, there's nothing to distract us. So in the level before our composite, I decrease the opacity to 0.85. Now we have the movement. And in my translate Y, I increase the number a little bit, 0.001. Now we have kind of a more fluid movement. I add another null after my composite. I call it base color because we want to use this texture on a 3D grid. So let's go and create our 3D part. From stop, I bring a grid. In the size, for the X, I write 2.6. And our Y dimension is like 1.5. And I increase the rows and columns to 200. I add a geometry after my grid. I bring the geometry from comp. If you right click on the output of your grid, then your geometry will be connected to your grid directly. I bring a camera from comp and a light from comp. Now from top, I bring a render. I zoom in a bit. If you don't want to move your camera manually and you want to zoom in and zoom back, you can just change the number in your translate Z. The lower the number, you are more zoom in. Now the null that is our display, I connected after my render to see our 3D render here. From material, I bring a phone. And here in the color map, I drag and drop my base color. And I drag and drop my phone on top of my geometry and I choose palm material. Now we have the texture on our grid. Now from top, I bring a normal map. I connect my base color to normal map. And I drop my normal map inside normal map in my phone. Now my render turns black. This is one of the most common problems that people usually get when they are using normal map or they are using 3D part in Touchdesigner. The reason for this is because our geometry doesn't have normal, or the normal of our geometry is not correct. So for that we need to add an attribute create, and you can turn off both compute normals and compute tangents. Now you see that we already see the effect of our normal map on our geometry. Here I turn on parallax occlusion and displace vertices. Now I want to make another map for my displacement map. Here from the edge that we had at the beginning, I get a node. I bring the node a bit closer to the other maps. And I add a level after my node. I increase the brightness to 0.35. Now I add a blur. I increase the filter size to 10 and pre-shrinks to 6. Now I add another node and I call this displacement map. And I drop the new map inside high map. Now you see we have the effect, but the effect is too much for what we want to do. So I decrease the number of displays scale to 0.1 here. And our light angle is very straight. It's completely from the camera point of view. So I change my light position. I also change the light type to distance light. And here in my font, I increase my specular a bit. I put all the channels to 0.5. And I change my emit color and make it a little bit brighter. So it's still, I think it's a bit too much. Maybe we need to decrease the emit color a bit later. In geometry, I put the rotate X on -45. Now we see our high map a little bit more better. I decrease the displays scale again a bit. And here we also can add other maps. I use this level for my emit map. And now, I think still the contrast is a lot, but we can fix that later. Here I reduce the gamma in my level a bit. And here I go back to emit and I make it a little bit more dark. Now to make our render more appealing, I add an ambient light from comp. Here I'm changing the color of my ambient light to bluish, and I already reduced the dimmer. And here in my phone I can also add an environment map. So to create that, I bring a noise from top. Here in common I set it the same resolution. I turn off monochrome. I increase the period to 2. And harmonic gain to 0.55. And harmonic spread to 2.8. I also decrease the amplitude to 0.2. And exponents 2.95. In transform, in translate Z, I write apps time.second to also give this one a movement. And I multiply it to 0.3 to make it slower. Now from here I add a composite, and from our previous patch, which is our texture map, I connect the channel mix to this new composite. I change the operation to pin lights, and I change the layer order here. I add a level, and I decrease the opacity number to 0.65, 66, and I add a null. And I use this null for my environment map. Now you see the effect of this map on our render. I decrease the ambient light. And here, to make a background, I bring a ramp. I change the type to vertical. And here I change the colors. It's a gradient from blue to white. And I also change the resolution in common. I add a composite. I connect the ramp to this composite. So here I wanted to change the operation, but I think I want to keep this composite. I add another composite. And I connect my ramp to the new composite, and then I put it on over. Now we also have a nice background. And here I go to my geometry and I increase the rotation a bit. And I decrease the translate Y a bit to bring it more down. So here you can just play around with displace scale to get the effect that you like. And here in the beller, if you also change the filter size, you will get more smooth movement. And that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please share this video with your friends if you think they would like it. Hope to see you next time.